What is going on, everybody? We are going to talk about the worst units in the Adeptus Mechanicus Codex. This, of course, is opinion, and honestly, I don't think most of these units are really that bad per se. I just don't really see maybe why you would take them over some other options in the book. So, while we go through them, I'll also give you some ideas. This isn't the intent is not to make you feel bad if you own these units or like these units or want to play with these units. So we'll try to dig in a little bit on maybe something that makes them viable. But let's start here with the Transvector Archaeolocopter here. This is the transport airplane. It's coming in at 110, 15 points more than the Dune Rider. Same gun loadout. Now, one thing that makes this odd is it only holds 6 infantry. So, not 100% sure what 6 infantry you're going to want to bring. Also, if you want to make this super killable, or unkillable or harder to kill, let's say, you can give it the chaff launcher for 20 more points, bringing it up to, I think, 130. It does have the super unique ability, though, where you can take 2 of these and you can transport a single unit up to 12. Now, that's pretty interesting. It also has the ability to deploy these units, or this 12-man unit, in the first turn using this combined landing. So it's sort of a first turn deep strike or forward deploy. So I could see some value in that. It's just going to be a lot of points because you're going to bring 2 of them now. That's 220 plus the 12 unit. You're looking at about, 300 points for this little combo. I also think there's a chance you could double down on it with, say, 4 of these and really try to pin your opponent into their deployment zone. Now, in 9th edition, that's a viable tactic. If you can pin your opponent into their deployment zone by messing with movement and such, they just can't get to those middle objectives to score. You can get a really early lead on the game, especially with units like the what are they called? The Cowboys? Jeez. Forgot their name. Sorry. The Raiders. Cerebus Raiders. Those guys can get that free move, basically starting the game in the middle of the board. So you could sort of try to pin your enemy into their deployment zone. These are toughness 7 with 10 wounds, a 3-up save. So there you do have the option 2 to automatically blow them up. They do fly, where that means they can't be charged except by other flyers. So if you put these sort of stacked, I don't have one available here. Oh, I think I got a base. So if you put one here, like that, that's, I don't know, 12 inches or more of space that an enemy could not finish their movement. Although you're allowed to move through flyers, you're not allowed to stop on the bases. So with 2 of these bases, double wide, following the rules here, I think you have to be set up within 9 of each other. So you could create quite a bit of space that the opponent would not be able to move. Therefore, they would have to kill you to get past you unless they have an incredible movement speed. So there's something to think about if you want to play with the transport. I have 2 bomber planes, and the bombs are not glued in, so I might try that one day, see how that works. But there you go. I don't know if this one's a must-have, and at $100 a model, maybe not my first choice. Second up, this is the Castellan Robot. Long live the king. No more, though. It has sadly been reduced to a very odd place. So let's double check the points. I think they're coming in at 100. And the Castellan Robot is 100 points plus 5 points for a phosphor blaster. It makes no sense why you have to pay 5 points for that. And you can take 2 of them, so it'll be 10 points, 110, like they used to be, except they've lost all their shooting benefits, basically. One of their guns, they used to have 3 of these guns, and I believe they were 36-inch range. Now they're 24. They got one of their guns replaced by this 1 damage gun. It's just the AP1. It's all over the place. They're still ballistic skill 4. They don't double shoot anymore. They have hardly any ways to buff them, but we'll get into it in a little bit. They are tanky. You know, they do start out with a 2-up save, 5-up invuln, 6 on the invuln save, bounces back mortal wounds. So I don't think you're going to automatically lose the game or anything if you take a unit of these. But I'm saying like 2, right? 200 points or 220 points. Not that, you know, end all be all. It's just a matter of I would not heavily invest into these guys. They seem awkward and kind of pointless. For one, they're going to put out 6 strength 6 AP 1 2 damage shots and ignore the benefits of dense cover. Okay, there's nothing in the opponent army that these 6 strength 6 shots hitting on 4s AP 1 2 damage are going to kill better than what your normal troops are going to kill just through sheer volume of fire. For 220 points, you could take 2 of these, putting out 12 strength 6 shots. Or for 160 points, you could take 20 rangers, and with a buff of the Manipulus, they would actually have, they'd be strength 4, AP 1. With the buff of the Manipulus, they could go to strength 2, only damage 1, but at about a 15-inch range, or an 18-inch range with the Manipulus buff, not much shorter than the 24 here, they would be putting down 80 shots. So with the stratagem, 80 shots, better AP versus 12, and they're less points. No idea what they were thinking on this scroll. It's awful. Now, let's get into some of the positives. There is some interesting hand-to-hand combat builds. They're not that interesting in my opinion, but you could try them out. People seem to like them. For one thing, you could take the Datasmith, and while he's around, he can give these guys core, so that would allow them to, say, get access to some other buffs. They could reroll ones to hit from like a Dominus, I believe. So there's a little bit of ways to buff them that way. The Datasmith can change their protocols, or you can use a stratagem to do so. When you go into the Conqueror protocol, you can reroll charge rolls, and your weapon skills are 2+. Now, when you go... Okay, so reroll charge rolls and weapon skill 2+. When you go into Protector protocol, you get ballistic skill 3+, which is just... If you play this army, you feel like you're always hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s. So hitting on 3s with potentially no rerolls, or 4s and no rerolls, whatever, doesn't feel all that spectacular. But there's some interesting things. You can go all in with the Datasmith, give them core. With Lucius, you can teleport a core unit, which could, with I believe Solar Flare relic, you could then use the stratagem to switch these guys into Conqueror protocol. You could have the Canonical up that gives them roll 3 dice on the charge, pick the 2 highest. With this Canonical, they would re-roll, or I mean with the Conqueror protocol, they would re-roll their charge as well. So 3 dice, pick the 2 highest, and you get a re-roll. I would say that's a pretty good shot at making that charge. Maybe you want to go in on a big unit, but even then, going 4 of them, that's 400 points. They are pretty tanky at toughness 7, 7 wounds, 3-up save, 5-up invuln, like I said. But I just don't know. I mean, that's another option. It's a first turn deep strike redeploy you could do in Lucius that you could potentially pin your opponent in with something that's pretty hard for them to remove. Their hand-to-hand combat's no joke. With 2 fists, they'd be coming in at 5, strength 10 attacks, -3, flat 3 damage. And you could give them the 12-inch flamethrower on their shoulder. They are vehicles, so they could shoot that in combat. They could retreat and still shoot. And unlike previous editions, when they're in the melee version, they can still shoot. So having that flamethrower, or just the little shooty gun, picking off like those little objective secured 5-man squads hanging in the back. Sure, go ahead. Give it a try. Next up, we're going to slide over here to the Sedonian Dragoon. Another unit that is an absolute miss in this book. Not the ones with the taser. Those are really good. I think they have a lot of play, a lot of great cool things you can do with them. Incredible stratagems, incredible synergies. But they offer a build that you've never ever seen before for the Dragoon, where they're holding a Radium Giselle. And that's a 30-inch heavy 2, strength 5, AP 2, damage 1. When you select a target for this unit, you can ignore Lookout Sirs Each time an attack made with this weapon against an enemy unit, excluding a vehicle, unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically wounds the target. This thing is a mess. Whoever wrote this should hopefully not be writing rules. What does this do? It's not cheap. Let's check. It's not cheap. The Sedonian Dragoon is 55 points a model. 5 points if you want to equip a Phosphor Serpenta, which is only an 18-inch range, assault 1 gun, whatever. But 55 points a model for 2 shots at strength 5, AP 2, 1 damage. They ignore Lookout Sir, but they don't have the sniper rifle rule of mortal wounds. So generally, when you're taking something like the Raiders, which do mortal wounds, which is incredible, or the Arquebus and the Ranger squads or something, you're targeting characters, but you're also doing mortal wounds to those characters. This is just an unmodified hit roll of 6, automatically wounds the target. You don't have the volume of fire. You're only strength 5, AP 2, so the character's probably going to have a 4-up ward of some kind. Yeah, what is the purpose of these at all? They seem absolutely make no sense. Why didn't they make this like, I don't know, heavy 4, strength 5, 2 damage, 1, 6s to hit a mortal wound or something, or 2 mortal wounds or whatever. Make them interesting, but it's just an awful, awful unit. It makes no sense. I could see if you wanted a super funsy thing, which I highly don't recommend because these models are way overcosted at $55 a model. Pro tip, if you see anybody in your community selling an AdMech army, buy it off them and then pull out all these chicken walker guys and then, sell the rest. And that's one way how I've acquired 6 of the Ballistari. And I've only actually, I think, bought 2 at retail. And that was before, I think, 1 or 2 price increases that they've had. But anyway, yeah, the price, $55 a chicken. You definitely don't want 2 strength 5 shots for 55 of your hard-earned dollars. Absolutely ridiculous. But let's say for funsies and money wasn't an option, or 3D printers, go burr. Tons of these Dragoons, ignoring Lookout Sir, tons of the Raiders, and tons of Arquebuses, targeting all the characters on the board. Woo, how fun. All right, I don't know. Whatever. Here's another one that's kind of in an odd place, I think, and that is the Sky Stalker. These guys can deep strike. Cool. They get a 5-up invul. Cool. They can shoot, and in turn they fall back. That's cool. They're only toughness 3, 2 wounds with a 4-up save. So if they get charged by any kind of melee, you're not really going to have a lot left. And their guns are just Assault 5, Strength 3, no AP, 1 damage, 18-inch range. So sure, they can jump down and pick off some, I don't know, little light infantry squads. But their brothers, the Sterilizers, seem to do it much better with automatic hitting Strength 4, AP 1, D6 flamethrower attacks instead of Strength 5 or Strength 3, no AP shots. The leader in both has the taser goad and the 5-shot pistol. These guys also get a bonus in hand-to-hand combat, so if you want to charge into like the last 3 guys in an Imperial Guard squad or something, you'll tear them up. These guys don't really have any benefit to the charge, but they do get arc grenades. They're the only unit in the book that has arc grenades. So let's double check if we can find it. Oh, they both also have the booster thrust stratagem, which is broken. It'll probably be subject to FAQ, but right now it's one of the best stratagems ever because you can just leave the battlefield. Now, I gotta find the arc grenades for you. They're one of these weird units. It's the stratagem that only affects units with arc grenades, and they're the only unit in the book that has arc grenades. I'm almost positive. Okay, here it is. 1 CP, arc grenade. It's literally called arc grenades. They're the unit that has it. 1 CP, use a stratagem in your shooting phase. When an Adeptus Mechanicus arc grenade unit from your army is selected to shoot, select 1 vehicle within 6 of this unit. Roll 1d6 on a 2 through 5. that vehicle suffers D3 mortal wounds, and on a 6 it suffers 2d3 mortal wounds. Now, what a bad playtesting team and rules writing team for that. These guys deep strike more than 9 away, so they can't use their arc grenade stratagem on a vehicle. And they have an 18-inch flechette carbine, so they're the long range shooting kind of jump pack unit compared to the flamethrower ones, yet they're the ones with the arc grenades that they basically have no reason to be 6 inches away to a vehicle to use. Absolute bad writing. There you go. If you have these guys, an option would be like Wrath of Mars. A bunch of them could put out a ton of shots, so they're a good choice for Wrath of Mars. And they are Scutari. They do have Doctrina Imperatives. So, you know, there's a lot of different ways that, you know, you can apply buffs to them, but they just don't seem like a great unit to buff. And the Sky Stalkers are coming in at 17 points a model, which is actually the same as the Rust Stalker, the Infiltrator, and 2 more points than the Electro Priest. So I'm not seeing it. I think you're better off spending points on the Sterilizers if you want to access that Booster Thrust stratagem. Now, if Booster Thrust changes, like it obviously should, the unit won't be able to come down and leave in the same turn. So maybe these guys drop a full 18 away and just pick at some units and shoot, and then fly away in the next turn, and you just kind of have like this little harass unit floating around. Maybe. I don't know. I'm not fully aware of these guys as far as their power, the Sulphur Hounds, but this kit, just on a dollar to value ratio, you're only getting about 60 points for 60 US dollars, and I think these guys are really, really good. So I know there's a way you can magnetize them. I didn't. I'm going to have 9 of these, none of these. So let me know, Sulphur Hounds, are they good? What do you think? I think they got a lot of kind of short range, you know, flame weapons, which is cool. They also get the rad saturated aura, which is nice. But unfortunately, they don't get the skirmishing line to move forward in the first turn like these guys, which would be really nice for all these flame weapons or auto hit weapons. But I don't know. I'm waiting on the Sulphur Hounds. I'd love to hear if you think those guys are a winner. The Datasmith. This unit here is doubling down on the robots, and the robots are poo. And outside of the robots, he does basically nothing. He buffs the robots, he heals the robots, he gives the robots core. If you're going to take the robots, and you can, if you're going to drop something, even if you take the robots, you might want to drop this guy, unless you need that core keyword for the teleport shenanigans or something. But if you just want a unit of shooty robots, you know, maybe you don't even bother with this guy, save some points, and it's fine. The next one, the Servitors. Not feeling the Servitors. It's a 4-man unit. 2 of them can have multi-meltas or plasma cannons or heavy bolters. We're not lacking in, I don't know, plasma cannons or multi-meltas. We got 3 plus D3 anti-tank guns. Damage 3 plus D3 on our las chickens. And our neutron lasers. And these guys just have bad ballistic skill. So, yeah, I'm not feeling them. I have some that I've never built that have been floating around in bits boxes. I don't know how I would even bring myself to spend points on them. And then you need a tech priest near them to get ballistic skill 4. Ugh, just rough. Like, I'm not seeing that one at all. Servitors down the drain. The next one that I don't think is very good at all is the Cataphron Destroyer. Now, let me be clear. This one is a little more on the fence of point efficiency for like how powerful you want to make your army. I think a unit of these is going to be fine. I think the more you take, the less powerful your army will be because they're very expensive. And let's double check just so we don't misquote it. The Destroyer is coming in at 40 points a model, 5 more with a flamer, so 45 with the flamer, and 10 more with the plasma Calvarin. So 50 points a model with the plasma gun. I think, hopefully that didn't turn off. I think there is some play here with a unit of them with the Grav. But at 150 points with the 3 plasma cannons, I don't know. Now, of course, in Rizza, this is the one unit that basically the Rizza stratagem affects in a positive way, making you have +1 damage. So a big unit of these with flat 3 damage, D6 shots, supercharged, could be pretty good. And they did give a buff here that if you roll a 1, you only take 1 mortal wound to the unit. You don't lose your whole model, which is an incredibly actual buff for them. But this is just more of a efficiency of points. If you want one of these guys, I think a unit of them, cheaper, just sitting in the back, picking away with arc rifles. And if you're Mars, maybe give one the torsion cannon, because he would be a great choice with his 1 shot to use that Mars reroll on. So, and that's also another D3 plus 3 damage gun. So yeah, Cataphront destroyers, I'm not saying avoid them at all costs, but I'm definitely saying, don't lean heavily into them unless you're Rizza. Or maybe you have a secret strategy here. Maybe you could drop in. They do have a sweet flamer. It's D6 plus 2 hits, range 12, strength 4. These are troops. So, I don't know, maybe you could deep strike them in or something. Let me know, Cataphront destroyers. I think a unit of one unit of 3 is fine. If you go heavy into them, you're risking weakening your army, I believe. The next one, the Techno Archaeologist. This one's very situational. He buffs the Cataphron Servitors, the Destroyers and Breachers. I think the Breachers are pretty solid. I think the Destroyers are a little high in points. And there's... Oh, real quick, too. There's actually... There's not... there's more 3 damage weapons in the game than you think. So, toughness 5, 3 wounds with 6 up invuln, 3 up save, 2 up save over here. Sounds pretty tanky, but there's 3 damage weapons in the game. And there'll be more and more, I assume, in the new codexes. So, although they look a little tanky on paper, when you're losing a whole model each time to a 3 damage weapon, you feel it. So, this guy buffs those guys. I think you can go with those guys and be okay with some. Maybe not too heavy into them. But I don't know if you want to spend more points on them with a HQ here. Unless you have a action that you want to do. Because this guy lets them shoot and still perform the action. So if there are actions you're doing for your secondaries and you have those breachers or destroyers and you want those guys to be doing those actions, he's a good choice. But if you just want a little cheeky unit of 3 fairly tough guys with some pretty decent anti-tank guns or whatnot, maybe skip this guy. Sadly, Bulsarius Call, I think is a loser in this book. I think he's too many points. He's like 180. Let's see. 180, I believe. Bulsarius Call is 180. He's got only a 12-inch gun, so he doesn't really support your army in any kind of shooting, whereas the Manipulus has a 36-inch gun, and the Tech Priest Dominus has a 24-inch gun, which are both very good. This guy only has the 12-inch gun, which is good, and really good if you get within 6 inches. But, I don't know. He does fight. He's good at fighting. He does basically the reroll ones to hit that the Dominus does. That's all he's doing, except he can pick 1 friendly core unit within 6, and until the start of your next command phase, each model in that unit makes an attack, they can reroll the hit roll. So 1 unit can reroll all the hit rolls. Now, there are some interesting ways you could fish for, say, let's say your Vanguard, we're using that stratagem where every 4+ is an automatic wound. Well, you could reroll all your 1s, 2s, and 3s. And because you're just rerolling the hit roll, you can actually reroll successful hits. So even though your unit might be hitting on 3s or even 2s if the Doctrine is up that turn, you could still reroll those 3s and 2s and try to get more 4+. Okay, that's great. But that stratagem is so good already. I don't know if you need a 180 point model to buff them when you already might want to just take the Manipulus to buff the AP and the range, or you could take a Dominus to re-roll some hit rolls. So yeah, I think Call is maybe not the big winner in this book. I have him painted. I will play with him and let you know what I think on the table. But, oh, the Servitors were such a pile of poop. I forgot about the Fulgurite Electro Priests. I'm not saying they're a loser in the book. I mean, they definitely put out the damage. They definitely hit hard. They definitely do a lot of mortal wounds, 6 to wound or 2 mortal wounds. Their damage went from 2 instead of D3, which is, probably better. A flat 2 is generally better than a D3 because, we all have bad luck and roll a bunch of 1s. They're coming in at strength 5, AP 2. But they did get nerfed. When they kill a unit, they get a 4-up invuln instead of a 3. Okay, 4-up. You're still only toughness 3 with 1 wound, so you're not invincible. You do have the 5-up, feel no pain, though. But then you get add 1 to your unit's Voltageist blast ability, which is after this unit finishes a charge move, select 1 enemy unit within engagement range of this unit, roll a d6 for each model in this unit within engagement range of that enemy unit. For each 6+, the enemy unit suffers a mortal wound, so that would become a 5+. This is like, both units get this. It's a little charge mortal wound thing, like an impact hit. It's a fun little thing, but because you only get a roll, you don't get a roll for all the models in your unit. So let's say you had a big old unit of 20 or whatever. You're not going to get a roll 20 dice and fish for mortals because it's only friendly models that are within engagement range get a roll. So you need to have a big charge roll or, wrap the unit to get a lot of rolls on this. So this buffing that is so situational. Whereas they used to get a 3-up invuln and be pretty tanky. So I would choose the Electro Corpuscari Jazz Hand Priest over the Fulgurite Priest because I think these guys still hit pretty hard in melee, but their shooting is phenomenal. And I think that's it. So overall, besides maybe the Servitors and the shooty robots, the biggest losers, obviously, they're Radium Giselle. Radium Giselle, robots built for all shooting, and Servitors, fully upgraded. I think those are the 3 biggest losers. Let me know what you think are the biggest winners and losers. I think generally most of this book is a winner. I've slowed down a little bit on these videos because I do honestly think the FAQ is going to have to address some of these things because the book is so strong. And I'm not sure it's supposed to be that strong unless everybody's new 8th edition or 9th edition book is going to be that strong, but we'll have to wait and see. So let me know what you think. Who do you think is the biggest loser in the Adeptus Mechanicus Codex? Thank you so much for watching. If you like AdMech, please subscribe. Like the video, comment down below, especially if you have some tips and tricks for the Sulphur Hounds. And I'll see you in the next one. And hopefully that'll be very soon.